above import. Woo.
Finally got the mic off. Sorry about that. So I like to spend the weekends on my knees praying. I don't know where your minds just went. I like to think of myself as a wholesome hoe, you know, because I still like to keep my relationship with God alive. I check in every once in a while, be like, God, you there? And, you know, he just gives me silence, so I know he's still there. One thing I was always concerned about, though, was the fact that I came from a very religious family. And I don't know if any of y'all have any of y'all come from a religious family? No, it's just me? Okay, fuck me then. I come from a very religious family. And so my uncle, my great uncle, he was the bishop of the church that we used to go to. And it's real embarrassing to get called out by your uncle bishop when you're trying to go to the bathroom, because you can't leave during service for anything. That's how religious they were. So I remember I was about like 8 years old, and I'm sitting there like, I really gotta pee. Okay, Trisha, you can do this. If you just walk really fast, he won't notice you. So I'm just thinking, okay, 8-year-old me, I've got this. You know, I'm only about yay high. He's not even gonna notice me. He's too busy shouting. He's going, yes, Jesus! Because, you know, my uncle used to hop with every verse for whatever reason. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to make my escape. So I get out the pews, and I'm just stealthily walking. And then he says, ha! Stop! The Lord has stopped me today! I see my niece trying to go all the way. Where are you going? And 8-year-old's me like, to the bathroom. And he's like, no! You have to sit here for the service. And my family was so weird about sitting through the whole service. Like, you couldn't do anything. They used to scare me with that. So my great aunt used to tell me that if I fell asleep, that was the devil playing tricks on me. So I definitely was an insomniac for the next 3 years after that, waiting for the devil to stop playing tricks on me, trying to not fall asleep in church, which is actually really hard to do. Yeah, I know, this is a rough set for me. But one thing that really bothered me about growing up with a religious family is that my uncle was super eccentric in every single thing that he did. It wasn't just in church, it was outside of church too. So he would speak in his pastor accent outside of church. Do you guys know what a pastor accent is? Okay, so I'll just do an impression for you. So my uncle's pastor accent, it could be something like, and the Lord just said to me, it was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And he would just keep shouting that homophobic message for like 20 minutes, and the Lord would be like, hallelujah! Everybody like, amen! And he would just keep doing that, but he would bring that energy outside the church. So he would come to the barbecue, the family barbecue, and he'd be like, yes! Because he liked to clap his thigh, I don't know why. He would go, yes! And the Lord said to me, this cheese, mac and cheese was good all day to yesterday. And he would just keep doing that for every single thing. So I'm just going to move on because I'm getting laughs. One thing I noticed that my parents was very much hypocrites. And I think all parents are hypocrites without really meaning to be. So my dad used to love to quote Bible verses at me, yet he never went to church with us growing up. And when I was younger, I didn't really catch on to it until I got older. And my dad would be like, the Lord said that you have to obey your parents. And I said, Dad, how do you even know what the Lord said? You ain't seen the Lord in about 12 years. He didn't like that response at all. I got a whooping that day. So we just moved on from that topic. But yeah, parents are hypocrites. They like to tell you that you have to be a certain way, you have to be wholesome, and your grandparents really ain't no better. So my grandparents used to be like, you know, you have to keep your legs closed. You don't want to end up pregnant, do you? And then when I got older, I realized that none of my aunts and uncles had the same dads. And I asked my grandma about that, and she tried to do a Jedi mind trick on me. She was like, that's not true. And I said, what are you talking about, Grandma? I just did the math in my head. How is it that my aunt and my uncle are only 6 months apart? That doesn't even make sense. So you mean to tell me step-granddaddy just brought in an outside child and you just try to claim it as your own? And she was like, that's not even true. I had the baby, it was the Lord's will. And I said, that doesn't even make sense, Grandma. So I don't know why they try to lie to me like that. Okay, it's rough, so I'm going to move on to the next one. So girls are kind of weird. We try to be like, especially my group of friends, we always like, because we look young, as long as we dress conservative, people have this awful misconception that we're somehow pure. And we kind of challenge that all the time. And my friends introduced me to a lot of things that I didn't necessarily want to be into. So one of my introduction friends, as I like to call them, is my friend Bella. So Bella introduced me to the wonders of getting spit on during sex. I haven't tried that yet, but she keeps telling me how great it is. So me and my other best friend, every time we hit up a Tinder boy, we ask him to spit in our face. And would you believe they're so rude, they say no? They're like, I don't want to disrespect you like that. But then they still come on our backs and leave the next morning, so I just don't understand where the line is for disrespect. So yeah, I was introduced to disrespect in a different way. You can spit on the face. So let's see. It's rough in the hair. Do you guys ever think about your pastor's sex life? It's a very weird topic, I know. I'm going to approach it carefully. So pastors, you know, we think of them as like these role models, but like when they're married, I always feel weird because I'm like, what do pastors say during sex? You can't say, oh God, because that's taking the Lord's name in vain. You can't, you can't beat them in bed because that's hitting your wife. So I'm just wondering, how boring is a pastor's sex life? I imagine their favorite position is missionary. It's the only acceptable one. Aside from my pastor's sex life, I don't really have much of one. I recently decided to be more celibate, but that's actually really hard to do because I get very needy often. And there's so many times where I feel tempted, but I'm just always reminded of the one time I had bad sex. And so it just keeps me motivated to not ever do it again. But it's really easy to get tempted. There's so many guys that, you know, claim to be like, I'm gonna set you right. I'm gonna bust your back in. And I'm like, are you really though? I mean, don't lie to me. And they all think that they're so good at sex, but they're actually, a lot of guys are pretty awful at sex. I don't know why. I don't know if you're watching a lot of porn or if you just, some people lie to you, but they all are terrible at foreplay. Why is it that every boy I go to, he thinks that turning me on is just grabbing my boobs like, just like that. He thinks it's just manhandling me and my most delicate body parts until I have to have sex with him, which is kind of rapey, but okay, I guess we're going that direction. Okay, so this set was not that great, but thank you guys for listening.
Woo!